My mother was born on the day the church was opened, the 20th of January 1906. Yes, I've been over 50 years in the choir. It's a long time. Doesn't seem that long, so it really doesn't. Well, when I joined the church, it was Mr. Johnson, you know, who was the moderator.
Well, I must say my ancestors, my grandfather and his family, which included my mother, were down in the Grange Fans building. My main memories are of Mr. Johnson because I was in the fellowship, and it was such a lively fellowship, and it was really great, a real fellowship from young, say 17 up to nearly 30, and I think that was the strength of the fellowship all these years. In particular though, we had the train, and we went to every beach I think down in Fife for Sunday school trips, and that was great.
I was called off to the army, and then when I came back I joined, but I owe that to my grandmother. She was a great influence in my life. I'm not sure whether it was in Mr. Johnson's time that I joined, and somebody asked me to be a deacon, and then shortly after that an elder, and that was a long time ago.
And what are you now?
Well, they tell me I'm a senior elder.
Senior elder.
Or father of the session.
I remember when I was about 6 or 7 in Sunday school, and we were singing in a choir, and the STV TV crew came to film us, and we were on TV.
Well, I started coming to St Andrew's Church when Tom Anderson was the minister, and I was only a wee girl at that point, and my vivid memories are of the Sunday school at that time, when it was Enid Harrower and Margaret McIntosh and Douglas Farmer and Eileen Harbison. And what I remember most was our Christmas parties, which were fantastic, and also our summer outings. And at that time there was a massive big bus that used to come. We used to hang streamers out the window and head over to Burnt Island. And I must have only been about 3 or 4 at that time, but that was can still remember it vividly. And the other thing I remember most, even from being a wee girl, was that there was always elders round at our house visiting my mum and dad and just calling in, and they weren't just elders, they were real family friends, in the likes of Tom Ross, there was Bob West, and later on Walter Lauder. So for me, church wasn't just a Sunday thing, it was just part of a normal family everyday life.
My first memory of St Andrew's Church was when we used to go along to the evening service with Helen, and Albert used to bring guest musicians along to the evening service. To name but a few would be Steve Butler and Tom Morton, and music has played a big part in my life at the church, and it has to the present day as well.
Well, I remember when I was wee and I was in the junior section, and I went to Mayville for the first time, and I was away from home for the first time, away from mum and dad and Emily for the first time, and it was good. It was good fun. It was good being away without mum and dad.
Very happy memories. We were married by the Reverend William Johnson, who had retired. Well, he had moved from this church to Greenock, but he very kindly came back from Greenock to perform the ceremony, and that was in 1955. And I sort of followed into the guild because my grandmother had great connections with the guild in Bowness, although she emigrated to Canada. And she formed a guild movement in her church then, which was called the Church of Bethel. So that maybe I got that wee idea for our own. I wanted to be a part of our own guild, Women's Guild, which I was for many years till it disbanded. And we now have a women's fellowship, which is going very well.
I met Willie when I was about 19, and I used to bring him along to the evening services at the church, and then when we had decided to get married, we spoke to Albert and he invited us along to the Alpha course. So we come along to the Alpha course, and we met a lot of really nice people, and it was it was a great time for discussions. If we had any particular questions we wanted to ask, we could ask them there, and we met a lot of really nice people, and some of the people are actually still at St Andrews today. We got married in October 1996 and at St Andrews Church, and then after that we become involved in the Twerties group, which is a group for people in their, or was a group for people in their 20s and 30s, and we met up fortnightly, and some weeks we'd have a speaker, other weeks we would have like a Bible study, or we'd go and sort of arrange social evenings, and we had some really good times at the Twerties group.
My first memory of St Andrews was probably when I was about 17, and we used to come along to the evening service, which was really a huge thing for the young people at that time. There must have been about 20 or 30 of us who came along, and we all used to come and sit down the front, and the thing that sticks out in my mind the most about the evening service was sometimes Albert used to have requests for mission praise songs, and there was this lad that used to come to the youth group who came to the evening service, and every time it used to be hymn number
169.
169, and that really sticks in my mind.
There was there was two brothers married on to two sisters, and my father's half brother married to the female cousin, and I think they probably all attended. Well, they did all attend St Andrews and were married here. But I think my grandparents were in the church in Boundary Street. My earliest memories, probably attending Sunday school, and I think the Miss Martin, two Miss Martins, took Sunday school, and having to stay on after the church because that's when we had Sunday school, and then probably just the Brownies, guides, choir, young communicants, and now session clerk. Probably just moved through the ranks.
I was born 200 yards away from the church and was baptised here, and spent the early part of my life running around this church within the Life Boys, and the people who had the greatest influence on me then were people like Miss May Martin and Miss Violet Martin, who were the Life Boy leaders, and of course Grace Bell, a dear lady who had an influence, clearly an influence. I then moved on to the Boys Brigade, and Grace's brother Dan Benny, was the BB captain who had the greatest influence not only in my life but in so many generations of boys who were in the Boys Brigade. And it was through Dan's influence that we joined the church. We became members of St Andrews in the middle to late 60s. Then moving into the 70s and 80s, that faith began to grow, and I became BB captain here in 1982 and continued as captain of the company until 1997, when I retired from that to make way for some fresh blood and some fresh impetus there.
The thing that I find with St Andrews is I always feel like I'm coming home when I go to the church, and there's always friendly faces and people you've known for years that you can go and chat to, and they're always really interested in you. And St Andrews has always been good for young people. I remember when I was younger, I was always able to just bring my friends round about the church, and there was always stuff going on, if it be BBs, or when we were younger, the holiday club, or even Eliza, when we were like in our kind of early teens, ran a youth group thing, which was great, and we all went to it, and it was a bit scary as well, but it was good fun. Just lots of good memories, happy memories.
So I guess the whole journey through, from me personally, through the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and now into 2000, we've seen changes. The building may be the same in essence. The building may be the stability, it may be the rock, but it's from that rock that outreach happens. The church without walls, where we can go out into the world and have an influence in the world. And it's all about the change. And for me, I guess I'm still going through that change. And I think I will always continue to do that.